joining me to get the review, and the recap of Married at First Sight, Season 10, Episode 13. I thank you so much for joining me. So we're at Episode 13, and we get into the nitty gritty now, honey. We get into the nitty gritty. Folks is really, letting it all out, and some folks are going backwards. But yeah, so let's get started because this definitely was an interesting episode. The first couple I'll talk about, we'll go ahead and talk about Jessica and Austin. Not that I'm getting them out the way, but let's just be honest, they don't have too much drama. They're almost making up drama at this time. Um, they have a date night. We see them first. They have a little nice date on top of the roof. And they get to talking about finding apartments, and she lets him know, I don't want you to move too far to where you have to drive and commute so far. So that's very, good of her. He does tell Jessica during this conversation that he is, has a position, a job that is going to have him traveling quite a bit, or every once in a while. He didn't say quite a bit. He said every once in a while, but it will be, several days at a time sometimes. Jessica is not very excited about that, and she just wants, she kind of looks sad, and she kind of holds back um, from saying too much at that time. Later on, we see them meet up with Dr. Viviana, and they talk about, what's going on, and how you know Jessica says, I did get a little upset with him when he told me that he had to travel, could be 10 days at a time when he, travels for work. And I just didn't like that. I kind of had some words with him through text. And Dr. Viviana says, are you embarrassed about that? She was like, no, I need him to know, my real self. And sometimes I'm going to be mad, and I need to let you know. And which, exactly. You're not supposed to hide those things. If those things are in you, then you need to let it know in the beginning. I wish more people would do that. But yeah, so, the whole love thing was brought up again. That's their drama. Besides now the whole work away from home. And Jessica is having a hard time saying it, but she finally does say, I do love you, Austin. He just looks like, okay, thank you. But he lets her know, I appreciate that, but I'm still gonna take my time in saying it. I don't think it's something that I'm gonna rush into, and I'm just gonna stick to that. And she is just thinks that that was going to melt him, and he was going to say it, and it didn't happen. No dice. So, that was their. I think Jessica was upset about that, but I think she will just have to get over it, and Austin's gonna just let her know when he wants to let her know. So later on, we see them going to the beach, and they're talking, and they want to. They exchange. They were given a task to write to their child self, or 15 years ago, or their teenage self, and Austin writes a letter to himself saying, there's more out there, and baseball isn't just it, and focus on other things that could build your life, and you know basically the things that we all think about we should have did, should have, would have, could have, back in the day when we were a teenager. We wish we would have done so we could have had a better self later. Not all of us, some of us go full force, but some of us do say, dang, I wish I would have did XYZ, and maybe I could have been here. So that was his letter. And then Jessica was kind of felt a little gushy because she did tell Austin that she loved him, And she felt that, she should have been saying that to lots of her family members, especially her grandmother, which I'm thinking passed away. And she feels like she should have given her more time and told her she loved her while she was here. So definitely, I have my grandmother still here, and I'm always, every time I get on the phone with her before I get off, I love you, because time is precious. Time is precious. Um, so that was, very sweet. He definitely supports her because she does gets upset thinking about her grandmother. Um, so yeah, that was Jessica and Austin. Um, so the next couple I'll talk about is Mika and Michael. They're home, and they're like chilling in the bed and kind of talking, and Mika says, "Okay, well, let's sit here and get to business and kind of go over, what we both make so we can know our finances basically. I'll share my pay stubs, you'll share yours, and we can go from there." So Mika pulls out her laptop. She, pulls up her pay stubs and shows him. And he's like, "Okay." And he says, "Well, I don't have pay stubs, but I have uh, a offer letter, and it has some numbers and things like that I can share with you that they've given me." And and Mika's like, "Okay," because he just started a job, so it's kind of believable. Um, so he pulls out his little letter, and Mika looks it over, and she's just confused. She says, "I'm confused. I don't understand why this number and this number don't match, and why would they be giving you all these figures, and what does this even mean, and how is this an offer letter?" And she, and he's just like, "Well, that's what they gave me. I'm not quite understanding it either." What? How do you not understand your offer letter? Like, I mean, I know I've gotten a few offer letters in my life, and not only can you've gotten it in the mail, or you've probably gotten it on email. So it usually goes something like, you know, you're offered this position at this time. This is how much you'll be getting. This is your salary. You'll have benefits start on X and Y Z date, and you will start your start date. That's about it. That's about it. So it should have your full year salary on there. Or at least the hourly rate, however they pay you. Like, that's what should be on your offer letter. So Mika is just, calling him out, saying, I don't get it. I don't understand what this means. This does not add up. And he's like, "Well, that's what they gave me, and I don't know what else to tell you. I've given you what I've given you, and that should be suffice for what you've asked." And she just like, she looked at the producer, and she says, his name is Montre. "Montre, I got to go." I'm not quoting her verbatim, but I'm telling you what she said. She said, "Monty, I got to go. I can't take this no more. He is not going to sit up here and lie to me over and over again. He's just going to sit up there and make up." No, before she got the producer involved, she asked him to write his salary on the paper. And he writes apparently some number that she's just not believing. And that's when she got up and said, "I gotta go." She says, you know, he is just not going to be truthful. He's going to lie. I keep asking him. He commits to telling the truth, and then he lies again. She was like, "He needs help beyond my control. He needs help. He needs professional help." I was like, "He sure do. He needs help. There's no other. I mean, he can't be pathological. He's a pathological liar. That's all he is. He's a pathological liar." Um, so she even went out in the hall. She was just upset. She was just like, "I can't do this. You can have him." That's what she said. "You can have him." So Later on, I guess they cool down, and Dr. Viviana meets up with them in their apartment. Um, she lets her know that, they had this discussion and they brought up the pay stubs, and he was just not willing to tell the truth. He gave some bogus piece of paper, fraudulent, and she was just not having it, and she's tired of being lied to. So uh, Dr. Viviana says, well, Michael, why do you think that you aren't able to provide these pay stubs? I mean, isn't it just a simple black and white? He was like, well, it's just not that black and white. And she says, well, I think it is. It's more like, can I have your pay stubs? Yes, here you go. I mean, that's pretty much how it goes. I mean, even all these days, everybody's online. You can probably go to ADP or whoever handles your benefit package and look it up. Like, there is just no excuse. There's no excuse. And Mika knows this. And she says, I'm a mathematics major. I ain't finna have that. I I know my math. I do numbers. This is what I do. So, Michael, that's he got the right. He know he can't get none over her. He know, and that's why he's stumbling. Like, yeah. So, um, Michael starts to say, I understand, I'm lying. I know it's all my fault, and I just, have been doing this since I was a child. I think it started when I was adopted, and I had to make up these, narratives and scenarios about my life because I just, nobody wanted to accept my truth, and I just use my storytelling as, a coping mechanism. Basically, is what he said. Those are not. That's pretty much what he said. He basically was not a person that I guess was popular during while he was growing up, and he had these secrets about how he was adopted. He found out he was adopted, and he was just like not um you know wanting to tell that truth, so he started making things up, basically, is what he was saying. And he's been doing it all his life, and he doesn't know how to stop. And that's basically how he copes with situations instead of facing them on. So yeah, that's the reason. And he broke down crying, and Mika kind of got close to him, but I don't think she really wanted to. But she kind of, was letting him know that, I'm here for you, but dang, stop lying. Just stop lying. Stop lying. um, but yeah, later on, Mika meets up with Michael's sister, cousin, and they meet up for dinner, and she kind of wants to just kind of get an insight, maybe through her, as to why Michael would be, you know, not truthful to her. And she kind of explains to the sister, I'm trying to, it's been hard. We're not, seeing eye to eye. And, Michael has been, he has been, not truthful, not honest. And so he, she goes and, kind of, uh, she doesn't seem like she wants to throw her, of course, doesn't want to throw her brother under the bus. And she is just kind of taking it all in, like, oh God. To me, she looks like, oh shit, he didn't show his ass. This is what I was afraid of in the beginning. Like, I know my brother. She know her brother. She know her brother. She know exactly how he talk and how he goes about his. She know, and she know exactly what Mika was saying. but she wasn't gonna throw her brother under the bus. That's what she won't. She was not gonna do. So she kind of, told Mika, I think, oh, what did she say? Well, you say he's lying, but he's probably saying, well, he's just he's exaggerating the truth. Or I said, go on, sister, that you gonna stick up for your brother. I mean, hey, of course, that's what you do, but you also, right is right and wrong is wrong, and but you're on national TV, so I get you don't want to kind of throw your brother's business out there, but she did, like she did. She said, well, he has been going through it. He was teased when he was younger, and he kind of always had to say things that were not true sometimes, just kind of get out, make himself look a little better, and it just kind of was what he did, and maybe that's something that you would have to help him with, because he does do that, and I understand. Nobody wants to be lied to. I don't want to be lied to, so I get it. And they have a good laugh, and she was like, you want to taste some of this? And Mika's like, well, no, I'm picky. She said, well, let's talk about you. You want to talk about my brother? I thought that was cute. Um, but yeah, it was definitely a good little conversation. I really don't think there's much that Mika can do but to leave, to be honest with you, because he's not going to change that quick, and she's not going to be able to take it. So that's something that you have to want to walk into, and they weren't given a choice. They just met. He lied to them producers when he was getting vetted and whatnot for this show, and now he is in a whole lie. He's a lie. He's a lie. But yeah, that was Mika and Michael for this episode. Um, so the next couple I'll talk about is, let's talk about Brandon and Taylor. Brandon and Taylor, they meet up for dinner, and they have changed their little looks. I mean, Taylor has a new wig, and Brandon has cut off his mustache. So they just like, we gonna start this new. um, Brandon says he was saying how they were just chit chatting, and he said, I don't really want to live apart from my wife, and she said, well, come on back home then, baby. No, but she said, you can come home if you want, or you can come on back to the apartment if you want. And he says, okay, I will. He says, where do I have to sleep? And she says, well, where do you want to sleep? And she says, I'd like to sleep in the room with you. And so that's, what happened. Um, they seem to be getting along, and very much, better than it was. They get home, and he gets straight into bed, and the dog persists to attack him once more. That dog loves to hump on Brandon. Um, Taylor, kind of was fishing for some compliments. Like, you didn't even tell me I'm cute. I bought this dress, and that's the first time I wore this dress. And he's like, oh, okay, well, I mean, you're always beautiful, but I'm still not trying to give you all of that. Basically, like, I ain't trying to tell you all that. You cute. Which I don't like. I don't like when men do that. Like, come on. I mean, but then again, she didn't need a fish for it either. But they have to get it. They're just so, like, stubborn. Like, I ain't gonna give you but so much. I'm not gonna give you but so much. Okay. um. So yeah, they in the night, in the bed together, and they seem to be, happy. I don't know what happened when the lights went out, but um, seem to be very friendly. Um, Later on, we see Brandon takes Taylor to his childhood home or neighborhood, and he lets her know, little spots that he used to hang out at, and he shows her the basketball court that he really, grew up at, and they play a little basketball, and it was all cutesy and everything. Um, Taylor and Brandon, they were given a little exercise by Dr. Viviana, um, to give each other compliments, and it was kind of like a little card game they played, and they did a little back rub and a little kissing at the end, so that was cute. So they kind of got a little close. It kind of brought them together, kind of gave them some intimacy at the end. So right now they're on the same page, so we shall see how that works out for Mr. Brandon and Taylor. So the next couple I'll talk about is Katie and Derek. Dr. Viviana comes to visit Katie and Derek. Derek says, he had to grow up kind of fast. And, it's because of the argument that they had last episode about how she kind of wants him to not be dreaming and want to have all these, you know, be so immature. And, he kind of lets her know, I definitely understand we have to be mature, but I still want to be a kid. I'm a kid at heart. Um, I had to grow up. He said I had to grow up kind of fast because we had to move a lot, and there's a lot of things. And the divorce of my parents, and I had to grow up a lot faster than I would have wanted to. So I'm kind of living my life now. And Katie says, the same thing. I had to deal with the same thing, divorce and whatnot, and I just, never looked back on my childhood. I just said, okay, well, I got to grow up, and this is it. And I don't see why there's a reason to even look back. I'm grown now, and I just don't want to have to, there's no reason to look back. And she kind of thinks she kind of listened to herself, I think, saying, maybe that's kind of harsh, and maybe I do need to step back and live my life. One second. So yeah, she says, she kind of thinks that that's maybe she does need to have a little bit of a lighthearted type of times in her life, and maybe she kind of grew up a little faster than she needed to, and it's not so bad for him to want to, you know, live a little. And Dr. Viviana says, yes, that's probably something you should try to do, and not, make his dreams just because you think that he's, doing something the opposite of what you have learned to do, and maybe you should kind of meet in the middle, basically. Um, Katie kind of says, okay. And Derek's like, yeah, maybe I'll take her to Dave and Buster's, or little fun things to kind of get her back into her kid like mind. I mean, at some point she's gonna have to get there anyway if she wants to have all these kids. I mean, she's not going to have. She's gonna have to get it down because, yes, you're gonna have to be mature in one way, but also, you got to play with your kids. Like, come on. You don't want to be the same if you felt like your parents were not there for you, like in the way that you want them to be. Maybe you want to do that for your children so they can have a better situation growing up and not have these, negatives afterwards when they grow up. Later on, we see Derek and Katie. They go to his home where he has a bunch of things in his garage that are his childhood memories. Basically, his mom had kept for him. Um, he pulls out, different little items that he had from school, and he pulls out this book with poems in it, and he reads it to her, and it was so nice, and she was like, "What?" I mean, it was about love, and she thought that he just could not have written this. And why? How could this come to your brain when you've never been in love? Like, how does this even? That doesn't even make sense to her. And so he's like, well, I can imagine love. I can imagine how I would like to feel. Maybe I have not been in love, but I can imagine how I would like, it to feel. And I was young, and this is what came out. But she just gave him a hard time. And then there was this cooler that was all designed, like with different pictures and things that ex girlfriend had given him. Monica. And Monica had written on there their first date, like check off list about what he wanted to do. And one of them was to go to a dance. And then afterwards, I guess they on the special date, they went snuck into the zoo and pet the elephants. And she was just looking at him like, oh, you doing that for her, but you ain't did none of that for me. I mean, girl, this boy was in high school at that time. You are a new person. You have years to come for him to show you. And not to mention, he has pulled out some pretty romantic things since y'all met. So why are you acting like he is just boo boo nothing when you know that he's done things for you? Like that is, it was just, she was jealous of the ex girlfriend from high school. Wow. You showed yourself right there, Katie. You showed yourself. So yeah, she gets mad at the ghost of the girlfriends. So that was a sad day for Katie. I mean, honestly, she's a very sweet person, but I mean, come on now, Derek is a really nice catch. He's nice looking. He has a job. He put you on his insurance. That boy put her on his insurance. Ain't known her for a month. Shit. I ain't even. I ain't gonna. No, insurance is expensive when you start adding people. I'm gonna just say. But yeah, so that was Katie and Derek. The last couple I'll talk about is Mindy and Zach. Honey, Mindy and Zach. Mindy finally found herself. Oh, God. So Mindy meets up with her friends and tells her friends about, they both recommitted. They were at this lunch and she was like, yeah, so um, we both, decided to recommit. And they were like, why? Why? And especially the one friend that sat next to her, she was like, what? The three friends were pissed. They were just like, why would you even put yourself through any more of this craziness? She says she wants to work on it and tells, the friends that, he told her what the exact secret was, that the secret, the secret was that he was told that when they got back from the honeymoon, that the ex-boyfriend of hers, wanted to pick her up from the airport. And she never told him that. And she was like, because it wasn't nothing to tell. She said, I told him that I didn't have him pick me up from the airport. It was my friend, the Asian girl who had picked her. I forget her name. I'm sorry, y'all. Who had picked her up from the airport, and she didn't think anything any more of it because she let that go. And she says, well, who told you that? And he said, oh, you wouldn't know him. It was somebody kind of a mutual in between person that you wouldn't really know. And she tells her friends that, and the friends are like, what? And then the friend who picked her up from the airport was like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a darn minute. She says, I know exactly. I think I know who the friend was. And she says, what do you mean? She says, when you told me and I picked you up from the airport and you told me your ex wanted to pick you up, I mentioned that to Lindsay. And so Lindsay is the one that knew. She's the only one that would have known. And so here goes Lindsay again. So Zach made up this random no person and just to protect Lindsay once more. So Mindy was like, wow, okay, 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 okay. said, okay, I'm going. She didn't say anything really at that point. She just took took it all in, and so later on we see her at her apartment, and Zach comes over. Zach's like, hey, I want to toast to, us having a new start, and I think he was gonna spend the night again or whatever, and she's like, I can't toast to that. I can't toast to that. She said, my friends and I were talking and we put two and two together and we figure it wasn't some random dude who, how you said, that told you about this situation with my ex trying to pick me up from the airport. It was actually Lindsay. And he was like, and she said, yeah, I know it was. She was the only one I knew. And you lied again. Why would you lie? Why would you lie? We already was, I was going to forgive you about all of the stuff that you did, about talking to her behind my back, never saying anything. And then you go and lie again. Why lie? These lying fools on this show. And Zach says, well, I just didn't want to throw anybody under the bus, or I can't take confrontation, and I don't want to, bring anything up. I wish I would have never brought any of this up. And well, then you never should have. You never should have even known, because you should have never even been talking to Lindsay in the first darn place. That's my opinion. She didn't say that. I said that. And Zach, she's like, well, I can't be lied to anymore. I'm tired. I can't do it. And I don't want to be in this marriage anymore. Girl, I jumped up and was like, yes, yes. Finally, you got the picture. Oh. And she started crying and kind of sat in a little ball. And Zach was just looking at her like, okay, boy, you happy. Boy, you happy. And he got his little dogs and left. He didn't give her a hug. He didn't. He was just like, because she said, get your stuff. You ain't no reason for you to come back here. Bye. Peace. And so he got his stuff and left. But yeah, Mindy finally found her voice. Later on, we see Dr. Viviana visiting Zach. Dr. Viviana comes in and she sits down and she's like, okay, Zach, what's going on? And Zach's like, oh, well, we've been trying and we have been, working on it. I've tried to spend a night and we're trying to see each other off camera. And Dr. Viviana was like, why are you giving me all this? I've already seen Mindy a little earlier today and she didn't already told me. She told you to kick rocks. And he said, oh, he just was like, what? He said, yeah, we decided to not see each other. We decided to separate. The boy just don't know how to get to the point. He really don't. He really don't. Now this woman had already told her, or did she, what it was is he thought he was gonna smooth it over before, like Dr. Vivian is part of the show. She gonna know, dummy. And she just said, well, do you think you lied to her? Do you think you were dishonest with her? Did you think you disrespected her? He was like, no, I never disrespected her. Okay, whatever, Zach. Um, he he just the whole thing was a lie basically, and he's just a dirty dog. He don't even know. I don't even think he knows how to tell the truth. Just like Michael, they both need to be two peas in a pod, for real. Um, they making Brandon look good, and that's a shame. um, Yeah, so basically, that was that Dr. Viviana. Mindy, later on we see Mindy and she having a divorce party, honey. She invites her friends. She got champagne cups and bottles and popping bottles and had she had a pinata. And she was like beating the pinata, like getting her frustrations out. She was like, I'm not one to, throw hands, but basically that made me feel good. That made me feel good. But yeah, so that was pretty much their whole thing. Dr. Viviana, like I said, got into Zach's butt with the whole, lying and making up stuff, and he just did not own up to it. So I guess we'll have to wait until the reunion to get more information. I think hopefully they will bring it out then. Um, but yeah, that's basically was episode 13. They seem to be on the right path. They're going to a retreat of some sort next episode, so can't wait for that. Looks like there's going to be some blow ups again. Can't never be just cool for a couple episodes, except for Jessica and Austin. So thank y'all so much for joining me for this episode of Married at First Sight, episode 13, season 10. Y'all please, give me a comment about what you thought and what your views of, these couples are. And please like and subscribe to my channel. We'll meet you here next week, next Thursday, and talk about it again. Y'all have a good night.